This conference will now be recorded.
And the guy was, I mean, he was like.
6 o'clock. Being 6 o'clock, open the meeting with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there anyone here for open forum?
So my name is Jennifer Shamble. Me and my brother Michael Shamble live at 280 Baylor Hill Road in Hillsborough, and I am handing out my comments for the record and just to make things go smoother. Whoops, I need. So much for being smooth. Okay. My brother and I live at 280 Baylor Hill Road in Hillsborough. The town of Hillsborough's assessor's home web page should provide a clear description of the assessment process and links to resources. The current resources on the town of Hillsborough's website are inadequate for property owners to access information about Hillsborough's assessment process. By posting updated information online, the town of Hillsborough can be transparent, support the community and town staff. Below is a list of recommendations and websites with examples and resources. For reference, below are samples of New Hampshire towns, assessors' web homepages. Henniker, Moultonborough, and Hanover all have a comprehensive links to different resources. The New Hampshire assessment resources recommended to be included are the Avatar Understanding Your Property Card, New Hampshire Assessing Manual, Exemption FAQ fact questionnaires, so not just the form, but also eligibility, Understanding Your Assessment, and taxpayer resources. Town-specific resources should include frequently asked questions, Hillsborough reassessment manuals posted online, valuation updates, an assessment plan and schedules, an assessment appeal process. Again, the links that are provided in here give templates for what other towns already are doing. As Michael and I identify additional tools and resources, we will bring them to the select board's attention.
Anyone else? All right, since you're all here.
Sure. So I'll start. So yes, absolutely. I forgot that we actually have the camera over here. So for the board, I'm Larry Baker. I think most of you know me. My fellow candidates here, you have Tim Morehouse and Austin Cobb. So we're running for the New Hampshire State representative in this district. And we wanted to come in, introduce ourselves. I know most of you, I think Rich, you're probably the only one who probably I don't know well yet. And give you the opportunity to meet us, ask us any questions, see if there was any questions you can answer. So I don't know, Tim, Austin, did you have any comments you wanted to throw out? If not, we can move forward.
I'd ask the board to maybe throw to us ideas of something for us to look at if and when, and I'm going to stress when we get into office, that we can examine for you. I'd like to believe that the three people, Jim, Jimmy, and Lachey, who are sitting before us, really took pride in doing their best to help support the communities of 4 towns. And we would like to step forward if and when we do get into office to do exactly the same thing. Just be aware that we'll do everything we can. And we look forward to hearing from you, and we won't be afraid to step forward and come to a lot of these meetings and ask the same thing over and over. What do you want from us? Okay.
And how we've got now. I probably should have also clarified, I'm a resident here in Hillsborough. These 2 gentlemen are both in.
That's not going to stop us from coming up here and asking questions.
Yeah, we're going to visit all the towns in the district.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, basically, my name's Austin Cottle. I was born and raised in Antrim and first time running for any kind of political field, but just want to introduce myself and if there's any questions or concerns or anything that we can fight for Hillsborough specifically or anything along those lines.
So your turn. Any questions, comments?
Not at this point, maybe when you get elected.
That's right.
Come up with-
When, not if.
When.
Exactly.
Revenues, revenues, revenues.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So-
Yeah.
Revenues and taxes, that's gonna be a hot topic across the
Well,
board.
no, we don't want any more revenues cut
Mm-hmm.
coming from municipalities. And, because that leads to higher tax rates, as you know.
Mm.
But it's, yeah, and I would, just because we see it a lot here, is we see the legislation of wanting statewide control of our zoning. And I think that's not a good thing for residents. They vote their zoning in where they live and.
Every town's different.
Right, right. And you all know, I'm sure, you've studied what's been going on the past few years. There's a lot of statewide zoning bills that are coming through and it's a fight. So,
Well, we're struggling at this point in time as a state to get housing in, knowing that anyone who wants to build any sort of housing here has to naturally go through the town and everything the town is putting it through. But now they're going through the state and they're going through federal mandates also. And I'm sorry to say that sometimes it's a year and a half, it's 2 years to go through these federal and state mandates before they even get back to the town level. And that's a bunch of, well, we know that it's a bunch of. And we'd like to see the town have more control, it's no question, and less control by the state. Absolutely, absolutely.
Should be all over.
yeah, that's my.
Yeah, the other hot issue is the school funding that the state
Yeah.
provides. That's a hot issue
That-
for
that's- that-
everybody. And
That's a difficult issue. Well, I'll tell you, as far as that's concerned, I think everybody in the room wants exactly the same thing. Everybody wants the best education for each individual child in the state, for that individual child. However that is, that's what we want. Am I in agreement? That's what we want. We have to find out how to get there. That's the struggle, how to get there. But we all want the same thing, no matter who you are. And we just have to find a way to get there. Simple as that.
state funding that's not coming to the
There's
town.
no question that's happening.
They're mandated to do it, they're not doing it. And I think
James,
that's a big
There's
issue.
no argument there.
Oh, yeah,
There's no argument there either.
but I know that's a hot issue.
That is part of that hot issue. There's no question. And I think what we need is more centric people sitting on both sides of that aisle, working together. I just don't think we see it. I just don't think we see it.
Well, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Add one more thing. One of the revenues that would be a great advantage to every community in the state is the New Hampshire retirement. If you all know, the state took away the 35% that was written into legislation when New Hampshire retirement was established, that they would be paying. So they stripped that from all communities. And I think, I want to say 2 years, it could be longer. They voted
2019.
students to put 20% back in the budget, yet they have yet to fund it.
Yeah.
And that would go a long way.
That started happening in 2019, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's all well and good to cut back on voting this 20% back, but if you don't
But
put
it
money
does,
behind it.
exactly.
And yeah, nobody's writing a check.
Right, that's huge.
I have a question. There's a law that something was recently passed about limiting the school budgets to the inflation rate. And we have 2 years to pass that.
Yeah, that hasn't been passed yet, Richard.
It has not been passed at the state level?
It's not, it's sitting at Kelly AS Tech. You're talking about HB 1300, correct?
I don't remember the House.
Yeah, that was
How do you
one that
guys
goes
feel
fast.
about that?
That goes on the ballot in November, so.
That'll be on,
November's ballot, yes.
that'll be on our ballot.
Right.
Okay.
November.
Now, that's a double-edged sword, you understand? Because they're not talking about the whole budget, they're only talking about half of the budget. Half of the budget is still going to be mandated by the school district. They're only talking about half of the budget. They're not talking about the SAU, they're talking about the school, not the
Right,
SAU.
but they're talking about the school?
They're
not the
talking- The SAU, the SAU is not, it's
Right,
not
I
the SAU,
understand
it's
that.
still only the school.
But the SAU's budget is much, much smaller.
Actually, yeah, I was gonna say, Conval, the one we're in, it's not that much smaller.
Oh, our SAU budget's like 1.2 million.
Okay.
Our school budget's like 25 million.
Okay.
There's no comparison.
There is a comparison, it's like 20% to 80%, which is a more equitable comparison than it is up here. So you got the Hills Road here. And again, that varies from district to district too.
Yeah.
District to, so. And that's another problem we're sitting with is, there's no viable comparison because we're dealing with Conval, $34,000 a year per student. Is what it's costing right now. Littleton, $18,000 per student per year. Why the inequity, why the difference between the two? I can't tell you. It baffles me that there's that much of a difference, almost 2.5 times in one school district as it is in another school district. And they're both sitting at 40%. So it's not as though one is outperforming the other. They're both sitting at 40%. So I'm baffled.
It'd be interesting to see what it is here in town. Have to get that research.
Yeah, you know what, only because that's my district, I researched that.
We're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Riche was all over, those over here, and I wish she were here. She could throw the numbers out for here as quickly as I was for my district.
I mean, school budgets are a problem across the state. So for those that don't know, I actually work down in Bedford at the school district. So I'm not an educator, but I work in the district, supporting all their technology needs. And it doesn't matter what town you're in, whether it's Bedford or Manchester or small towns like up here in Hillsborough, all the school budgets are all being stressed. Everybody is unhappy with all the taxes that we're paying. So we're gonna have to deal with that. So, I mean, the schools have to find ways to deal with it too. Yes, they need help from the state, but the schools need to get better at their own budget.
Does anyone here actually know what percentage of your taxes actually go to your school? Does anyone know? I happen to, but only because I've been playing with it.
Was Hillsborough over $17 a thousand, which was almost 50%?
80.7% of my taxes this year went to
Brilliant.
Conval School District. 80.7% of my personal taxes. That's where I went to the school. That means less than 20% of it went to town, county, and state. We have to think about that. And I think it's probably reasonable to say that the same thing happened in Hillsborough.
I think it's true.
Yeah, so
Most towns.
we have to be aware of that. We have to- And Richard isn't wrong that the state is, actually it wasn't Richard, it was James who mentioned it. He isn't wrong that the state is, should be spanked a little bit for not doing what they were mandated to do also. Absolutely. So we have to talk about that also. We have to be realistic and hold everybody's feet to the fire. We really do.
Well, you restore that 35% to the retirement system, it would go a long way
No way.
fixing the school problem. Because, I was on the school board for 16 years. So, we could see our budget going up every year, even if we did nothing, because our percentage kept on going higher and higher and higher. And, you have 80 teachers in your school district and you're paying all this money to retirement and you're covering the state's portion as well. That's a sizable amount of money.
It is, but we're looking at that 35% realistically isn't realistically 35% across the board. That 35%, as you're working it, becomes only 6 or 7%. It isn't a viable across the board 35% because it's being spread out. I wish I brought enough information to show you. I wasn't expecting to talk this much, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah,
But,
I
but,
get
yeah,
it.
but it's, I'm sorry?
Not that I'm just.
But it's like having 10 people sitting at a table, and one person gets that 35% extra, but it has to go to all 10. The money gets spread out to a multitude of situations. And so it's not 35% equally across the board.
Should be.
It should be, but as we know, it doesn't happen that way. It's a shame. But again, going back to what James has said, yes, we have to hold the state accountable too, there's no question. And that's why we're looking at more centric people moving up to the State House and trying to do something about it.
I think we need to have some oversight on the administration fees, because some of these administrators are making almost $200,000 a year. And if the kids' grades are going up enough, you could maybe see an argument for that, but if the test scores are going down, we're paying these administrators a lot of money every year. We need to look at that.
We probably have soaked up too much time, and we apologize for that. Thank you for giving us this time. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Peter Wilder.
Hi.
We come up or stand here, doesn't matter.
So the camera's right there. The owl camera, so.
Quickly introduce myself. Nice to meet you all. My name is Pete Lawler, as my colleague Max Stewart. We're here with Priority Power. The reason we're here today is our company, Priority Power, acquired Standard Power, which was the company that was responsible for putting the community power plan in place with the town of Hillsborough a few years ago. So as such, we've taken over that responsibility in administering that plan, handling enrollments, opt-ins, opt-outs, answering any questions that residents and or members of the board have about the electric power plan. Priority Power, just a little bit about us. It's a company based in Texas, but our office is in north of Boston. Max is a New Hampshire resident. I live in Mass myself. We've been in the energy markets for a little over a decade, working with everything from towns and schools to manufacturers, hospitals, government entities, you name it. We specialize in power, gas, and renewable energy. Max, I don't know if you want to.
One thing I'll add is you guys have the contracts in place to the end of 28, so there's really not much to do now. We can certainly talk about future contracts, future rates, as time allows when markets sort of warrant. But now there's really not much to do. There is some documents that we can share, or we've shared some emails for you for signature. Just allows us to communicate with the state, the PUC, to sort of manage the program. We can provide information you guys can put in your website for residents. If they have questions, they can contact us, things like that. So we're your sort of eyes and ears in the energy market. Feel free to reach out at any point.
Do you have any questions for us today?
So does that mean on the electric bill, if we're using Standard Power, it's gonna now say Priority Power?
So you're using NRG, they're the
NRG,
supplier.
okay.
Yep. So that's staying the same, nothing's
It
changing.
used to
there.
be Direct Energy, if you recognize that name, the business name change. But
I can't
yeah,
remember what it says.
the company on your bill is not changing.
Okay,
So we would be the ones responsible for administering that plan when that contract comes up in the future, as well as if there were any questions on the rate. A lot of residents would probably be pleased to know that the community power rate here, I believe in the 11 cent per kilowatt hour range, Eversource rates just jumped up to 14 cents. So the community power plan here is saving residents roughly 3 cents per kilowatt hour, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's fairly significant.
What does that save per year for the average household?
Let's see, average household spend,
Maybe somewhere south of 100,000 kilowatt hours a year on
Yeah.
3 cents, somewhere between 100 and 300 bucks. Just sort of super
Well,
ballpark.
that's, I knew it would be a
yeah,
rough estimate.
yeah. And then for some of the large manufacturers we're talking about, or if you're thinking about the whole community aggregated together, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a year.
Any other questions or thoughts?
I'm sure once we get into the contract, get closer to renewal, then I'm sure.
You'll be
we'll-
hearing from us about
well, yeah,
for
sure
sure.
we'll be meeting with you guys on
Yep.
Friday. But I'm assuming nothing's gonna change.
No change.
Fingers crossed, the Iran conflict will be over by then, and who knows what's gonna happen with energy rates, nobody has a crystal ball, but we'll be in touch well before that contract begins coming up for expiration, talking about options and strategy.
Are all the standard power, the communities that are standard power being absorbed by you guys
Yes,
in New Hampshire?
yes. Any other questions? Thank you all for having us. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Mr. McCoy, you're next.
Tom McClure, Hillsborough. I've got some questions about the maintenance of town buildings. One being the center clubhouse. I don't know if anybody on the board knows about the interior of that building and what it needs for repairs. It almost looks like it probably shouldn't be leased out. Also, near that building, there's a huge elm ash tree that's dying, and there's limbs that are falling down into the yard. So I think that would be a liability for the town if we did rent it out and somebody was there and the limb came either on their vehicle or on a person. Also, I've spoken to Laura about it. I've spoken to the town maintenance guy, Jeremy, is it? About it, there's a piece of flashing on the L chimney that has been laying on the roof for about 3 years. And I mentioned it to him when you had the mason working on the little schoolhouse. And but it's still there like that. Also, the firehouse tower. I talked to Jim about it, about getting the roof line on that firehouse painted. We spent a lot of money and painted the whole firehouse, but the entire roof line on the pagoda style, that all should be painted. And if the last time it was painted, I did it in 2003, myself and Darren Levine. So it really needs to be taken care of before it rots through. The downtown area, the downtown is looked terrible for years. But if you look at the brick sidewalks that we paid to put in years ago, there's weeds and grass growing up through it. We don't take care of any of that. We need to start taking care of our property. Another thing, if I can approach you, I'd like to show you something that I took pictures of today. And this pertains to Manahan Park. I've heard from a local person about the condition of the, can you see that all right?
Yeah.
So that's, I only went into, I went up there just to look at it. See, I went into the men's bathroom because I didn't feel I should be going in the other one. That's the sink. There's a double sink in there. I can't understand. That's the light above. It's almost dark out in there because there's so many bugs in it. That is the door that you lock for the toilet area. Somebody, it got broken, and instead of fixing it properly, somebody put a bolt in. It's been there for a while because the bolt's pretty well rusted. It looks to me like there must be a leak where the toilet hooks to the concrete. And there's all kinds of crap there, not crack, but dirt, bugs. That's the inside of the toilet bowl. Looks like it has been cleaned for a while. This is the bottom panel of the divider. That's the urinal. So I guess my point is, years ago, we used to have a park department. We had volunteers. You were one. I did it years and years ago. We wouldn't have let something like this go on. So I don't know whose fault this is, but if this was a property that I was in charge of, and it hasn't been taken care of, whoever is responsible for that would either make sure it got taken care of, or he'd be terminated, or she terminated, whatever it is. I don't think that's not right at all. So,
12 years since I've been a selectman that I haven't been involved in it.
no, I know it's not you. I'm not
Prior
saying-
to that, we tried to keep up on it, but
Well,
we're in the
prior to that,
process of.
when you had a park board, the
Right,
board used to look after all this.
right.
And the board members would go around to all the different
Right.
sites and look at it. That doesn't happen. So the next thing, if I may continue on this, is, I got a notification from the town about, a project in Manny. And this is a design that is going to be sent out for bid. And it looks like this is something drawn on a piece of copy paper. Why they used a ruler, but there's no really definition. If you look at the first part of it, there's no real definition on, this is the brand window, this is the brand door. So you could have 10 contractors come in, and all of them are gonna look at this and decide, well, I'm gonna do this window, or I'm gonna do this door. There should be a standard. It shouldn't be done like this at all. Also, there's the need to replace the well, I guess. What's up there right now? Anybody know what is there for a well now? A dog well. I don't believe you actually, you probably know
No,
the
it's a
dog
dog.
well.
It's a dog.
You had no idea to do that.
No.
So I don't know whether they're talking about putting another dog well in or drilling a well. Okay, also the septic, it says something about adding a tank and fixing up the leach field. Well, you just can't do that without a permit, especially near the water. So that permitting should all be in place before anything is done. What I would suggest is for the town, if we're going to, and I think you're talking about, by the time you get done, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 easily. Today's easily. I think before this is done, the town should spend money on an architectural drawing and have research done on the size of the septic tank that's there, what you'll need. Because if you're adding more bathrooms, the leach field itself is gonna have to be bigger. I think, to me, it kind of all comes together in the same thing, that we aren't paying enough attention to what we're doing or what we're not doing. And I guess that's all I got to say. I would request that you not put this out for bid. There's nobody that's gonna be able to get a bid in that length of time, and then plan on starting construction in October. And where is all the money coming from? You got $300,000 you can use out of the trust fund, right?
That's what the purpose of looking into it, to see to get a ballpark figure of what it was gonna cost and see what we could get done. But I'm not, objecting to, what that was going out was just a start. I agree with you that, an engineered plan would be better, but we needed to know how much money, because I think there's only 350 some odd thousand.
Well, at the end,
Whatever's left in the trust, but no taxpayer money would be used for anything at this point unless, we had to fund a little bit, but I'm not sure.
you can't take money out of the principal of the trust, can you?
Right, no,
All you can use is the interest.
Correct.
Which is around $300,000.
right,
So if it's $600,000, where's the rest of the money coming?
the project wouldn't get done.
So, but this says here, in this letter that went out, they want bid. And the project is gonna start, you're gonna decide the bid on, and it says in here, September 2026, the selectmen will review the bids. The work will start in October and be done by May.
If the bids are acceptable.
How can you do that if you don't have the money?
Exactly.
So let's do this the right way. Get it designed and then put it out for bid. That's all I say.
Yeah, how can we get a bid on that?
You can, but it won't be any good.
Right.
So thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Mark Murray, Firefield. On that aspect, you can't take and put a bid on. That's like you can say, I got a house to build me my house for $300,000. You're not What are they putting on it? Plywood, they putting OSB, what's the windows, what's the doors? There's nothing in there. You cannot get a legit bid from that. And then you have on there possibly to be built to hold the second floor. Why are we putting a second floor on it and also heat it? Why are we gonna heat that in winter time? This from being this is putting it, it's a half-assed way of trying to do something. You can't get a legit bid on putting that out there and do what you wanna do. Do this work and your septic system, yeah, you could do it 2 phases, do the house, building one, the septic system the first year, get that up the way you need it to be. And then the second year, you might have enough out of your stuff to do it, but I thought they were gonna drill well up there. All that stuff's gotta go out to bid, your wells, it's just concrete, there's a lot of stuff out there that's not there. You don't have a lot of stuff in that you can get a legit bid. Because if I took and got that, yeah, I'll use Home Depot windows, I'll use Lowe's windows, that ain't what you want. And someone else is gonna give you Anderson windows.
One other thing they, in your bid here, is that siding is actually a 3/8 inch, like a plywood. It has to have a plywood behind, or OSB board behind it. And it's basically something that if you're building a shed at home, you put that on the outside of it. I don't know who came up with this stuff, but it's a builder, you know.
Well, we looked at it, but yeah, I mean, I understand all the inefficiencies and, we didn't commit to anything. And if it comes back that, we're missing all that stuff, we'll get an engineered plan and then, because I changed a lot of things on that when it initially came. What kind of toilets we were putting in. Maybe I didn't think of it all, but, it gets the process started. We're looking to get the building replaced. I'm well aware of the condition of the other building, so yes, and it's just the process.
Is it going in the same place?
Huh?
Is it gonna go in the same
No,
spot?
no, different spot.
Up on the knoll there, where the other bathrooms are?
Or the other
Or
building.
or the bathroom up on the hill, or those changing rooms, or whatever they are.
There's 3 buildings up there.
So where's the building gonna go?
Between the road and the upper parking lot, I believe.
No.
Go ahead.
Crystal LaCour in Hillsborough. I'm the waterfront director for Manhattan Park and I run the summer camp. The proposal that we did was a rough estimate to meet the needs of the camp for serving not just the campers and everything, but the people who come into the beach, okay? I've been at this position for 11 years now. There's been no improvements made at any of the facilities, except for the retaining, last thing that was done down there were the retaining walls that were put in under Peter Brigham. So the building, approximately where the bathrooms are right now, approximately that's where the new building is proposed to go. If you know the site and you're looking at the bathrooms, like you're gonna walk into the bathrooms, there's the bathrooms, and then there's an auxiliary road that goes like down towards the boat ramp. The new building would be in the same vicinity, but it would also encroach on that road, so it would terminate that road, so that wouldn't be accessed. That road is not accessible during camping hours anyway, because we block it off so people can't drive down there, because that's where campers, we run programming and they use that as a walkway. The well currently where it is down on the beach, and we consistently run out of water constantly. So which means that we can't run a hose, we can't flush the toilets. So we do need a well updated. The septic system overflows quite often. It has to be looked at least a couple times a season. Last year was a little bit more. So everything that JT has put into a plan, like again, it's a rough estimate and we're looking at alternative revenue sources also. There was possibility for a grant that was $1 for $1 match, but we can't go and apply for any of those things until we have something more of a cost base. Like we can't go to them until we have some kind of estimate to go to them. So that's kind of like what we're looking at. There's also a lot of other options about keeping the beach house on the beach or tearing that down as well, depending on any of these other grants that we're applying for. So this wouldn't be anything to add to the taxpayers because it would be all be coming from the Manningham Trust. We want to treat that money, as efficiently as we can use it as possible. But the conditions aren't really suitable. We do need updates, and this is just the first time that we're able to really address it. And Mr. McClure, to your point about the Parks Board, Parks Board was in place when I first started in my position, and it was never on their agenda to do any kind of improvements with this facility, and it really is needed. So I can understand where we have to come up with a better plan, but we needed to get started, and this is what we were asked to give, so this was the proposal that we gave. If we need more to look at it again and come up architectural plans and all those other kind of things, obviously we'll have to look at that, but that's all gonna get money that's drawn off the trust that isn't gonna be able to use for the building of the building. So we wanna follow everything and do it the right way, but the end goal would be to get a facility that is going to better suit the needs of the people who use the park and so they'll service the kids that we service at camp. And to another point, I think you, sir, asked about why you need like expandable for a second story. If the beach house does come down, because that was one of our proposed plans, was to take down the beach house that's currently there and then reclaim that so that it could be expanded beach for more people, then we would need more area for programming to support the programming at camp. So that's where our second story would go up. Because attached to the bathrooms, we could also do kind of like how the beach house now has an extended roof line, and then we have a shelter area for kids. We do our arts and crafts in that area. We would shift that and put it up in that new building. To run a camp that has upwards of 100 kids a week, it takes, a lot of supplies and staffing, and we have, needs for those supplies and staffing there. Currently in the bathrooms, there's no hot water. Like, that would be great if we can get like a hot water heater so people can wash their hands with warm water. So we're just trying to put a plan in place that is gonna make sense and meet the needs of what we need. I'm sorry JT is not here tonight. He asked me to come because he's otherwise indisposed. But if there's any other questions I can answer, I will try. Anything else I can communicate to him, and maybe he can come to the next meeting if he's available.
If we're gonna take and possibility put a second floor on it, I think one, it'd be more cost effective, because we're looking at just meeting our needs now. So if we're gonna put a second floor later on, tear a brand new roof off, I think it'd be cost effective. Maybe do nothing with the second floor, you put the second floor on now.
That's why you get a design.
And stuff. I think we're trying to meet our needs. The town has done in the past. We'll just meet our needs to get something by. And down the road, it costs us thousands of dollars more than it would have originally, because we just met our needs to get what we wanted. I think this shouldn't go any farther until you get an engineer, because you're not gonna get, like I said, a correct bid, and you need to get this set up. And I can tell you right now, if the septic system is overflowing, I do them. That means your leach field is junk. And the size of that leach field down there, I bet you it costs you 60 to 80 grand alone. Down there.
Also, if you're gonna put a second floor on there, that means it has to be handicap accessible. So then you're going to have some way for an elevator. So to just throw this out and ask local contractors to bid on it, only to find out, well, maybe we'll find out how much we might need. The local contractors are spending their time looking at this, if any of them do, but you don't have any intention of handing out a contract. So why ask for it? You can't. You cannot sign a contract for something that's $600,000 when you only have 3. You cannot put a burden on the voters. The voters are the ones that put the burden on themselves.
I think that was our intention. We were trying to get a figure to see what we come up with. And if that figure's too high, then we gotta go back to, back to the drawing board.
Why not do it right the first time?
No, we're not,
This is
we're not gonna sign a contract that interferes, And just to clarify, Park board was disbanded 12 years ago when I became a selectman. I could not be on the park board after that. The retaining wall was not done by Peter Brigham. It was done by the park board. I mean, I was on the park board, we put the retaining wall on the lower side and we put the retaining wall on the upper side of that road. So I just wanted to clarify that. And there was no reason why the park board was dissolved. That was previous boards and we couldn't serve on it anymore and they just abandoned it with no foresight for the future. So yes, the park board has been, the maintenance of the buildings or the parks have not been up to the same standards that they were when there was a board.
Well, there was a reinstatement of the park board, but they met and that park board had no, when I was on the park board, we came to the selectmen with the budget. I think you probably did the same thing.
Yes.
But the park board that was reinstated a few years ago, we have a member, I think, weren't you on the park board for a short time with my wife? And you had no authority over anything. They could have an idea, but, so they disbanded themselves, basically.
I don't know, but no, I know when it was,
I think the park board would be a good idea.
oh yeah. I
When
agree
Wendy
with
was a selectman.
Huh?
When Wendy was a selectman, she was a selectman rep. So
That was the year I started.
Okay.
Wendy was still on.
I was on. I didn't
Who
like
does
how
the
long
maintenance
ago.
of the, who does the maintenance of all our town buildings?
So the problem is, you can maintain them all you want, but
Well,
somebody
obviously the
goes in and
pictures he's got-
vandalizes it, you're gonna be there every single day.
Well, obviously the pictures that Mr. McClure showed, that's not vandalism, that's lack of maintenance.
But why is there a bolt on the lock on the door? Somebody had to have broken the door.
But that bolt has been there for
That's
years.
right, but, you know, maybe it wasn't fixed right, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that.
Toilets are leaking.
That's why there's no bathroom down at Grimes Field, because we got sick of people vandalizing it every day. You got-
I was on the park board when we put that in. We had that put in for nothing. That entire thing didn't cost the town a penny. The
I
problem,
thought
the
what we
problem
were
with that
doing-
down there is they had porcelain toilets in there. And to keep the door open, they put rocks this size like that next to it. It used to be the police department would go down there in the morning and unlock it. And then at 8 o'clock at night, before it got dark, they were locked again. The police department decided, well, that's beyond us. That's not something we'll do. And the selectmen, not this board, but the selectmen never said to the police department, this is what you're going to do. I mean, they are a separate entity, they're part of the town. That's why that whole thing down there was torn down. There's supposed to have been another one built on the other end of it. Now we have stinky toilets that they pump out.
My idea, I thought we were just going out and getting estimates so that we could decide what we want to do and then get an engineer, but maybe we should have done it the other.
That's a big proposal for someone to sit down as a contractor and try to figure that all out, just so you guys can figure if it can be afforded or not.
Oh,
But you see, if you're the waterfront director,
wait a
So-
minute, whoa. We talked to us.
so the waterfront director is here. Could you direct somebody up there to make sure that the bathrooms are cleaned up tomorrow? They don't have to fix anything in there, but just cleaning. I would think that'd be the first thing that was done every morning before they,
Well, I don't know what the way it works now. I don't know. The lifeguards were doing it before. I don't know what the process is now. It used to be that way. The lifeguards used to do that first thing in the morning. I don't know how things are done up there.
I'll contact. I'll see if I can-
All right, Brett Tabor. Thank you for the board listening to all these ideas and concerns and all the feedback that the residents are giving. Many of you know me as far as the different activities I'm involved with. Definitely is able to have even an engineering small dollars to say, you give them a list of the things that you're looking for to basically develop the rough estimate value of a project. That's how many of us put out even our pre-applications with the state for grant funding and loan funding, everything else is based on that assumed project value. The other challenge is, as you've shared, and I'm sure it changes year to year as far as the amount of funds available through the interest or the revenue or wherever that's at. I would venture to say that if the plan for the park is to improve and develop, to actually put together a 3 or 5 or a 10-year plan, you're monitoring the finances, you're monitoring out of, here's the list of 10 tasks that you're looking to accomplish by the end of that project, and try to prioritize them. It was highlighted that we've got septic failures or no water. To me, that would be a safety and first priority, so that if you're looking to develop this, you do those first, and the building structure may have to wait for 2 or 3 years, but you get it so it's sanitary and safe for the lake, water runoff, and the people using the resources. That's just a suggestion of it. Develop a phase type project. It's organized. You'll be looking much better presenting to the public as to what you're approaching, having that organized structure. Merely suggestions.
Couple of points if I may. With due respect, I don't think you're listening. No one is saying you don't need to improve this conditions. But if you listen to her testimony, she just reaffirmed what Tom has been telling you about nobody's been taking care of it. In due reference, Jim, who cares whether you know how it works? You have the authority, director tonight. You got a week. Clean that mess up first. Don't pass that off another week. Do it. Number 3 is someone who's just gone through the process of getting bids to build 10 new houses. You're not going to get anywhere near a decent bid on a scribbled drawing. I have architecturally drawn plans that I put out. I got 6 of them sold. One guy wants to know what it's going to cost if you didn't build until spring. No one will give you a price. Rightly so. They'll give you a price. They're going to do it right now. You know right today it's not going to be done this year. It's not going to be done until next year, and nobody's going to give you a valid price to build something next year. Wait for the designs.
One other point. The town of Antrim just put a new facility at Greg Lake. And they went through the Land and Water Conservation Fund to the federal government, and they got 50% of their cost to do it. So I would think somebody would be looking into writing a.
We are actively looking into that.
But you have to have all the information to.
Yep.
You have to have architecturally drawn plans to get that money.
Can I ask a question? I've never done anything with buildings and stuff like this. I come from software and I know how that process works. I don't know how this process works. We created an RFP. It's out there right now. Is there anything that would stop us from pulling it back? Could we just say,
You know,
I would think we would want to do that.
Project.
we can discuss that after.
Okay, I'm telling you my opinion based on everything we've heard.
That's fine.
Plus, I've heard stuff before this meeting as well.
Well, we had 3 meetings that you guys went over that.
Well, that's true, but we're getting a lot of feedback now that we've done it. We didn't get this feedback before, unfortunately, but we're getting it now.
Right.
So we have a chance to maybe fix the issue before it becomes too big of a problem. So I would.
We can discuss it when we're done.
Okay.
Yep.
Guess we're not done. Sorry, no, that's okay.
Melissa Tabor, Emily. You're saying, the lady in the back is saying that the board was dissolved. Why haven't they tried to establish another one?
We did, but they were told that they had no authority for anything. The only thing we were doing was sitting around discussing whether or not we should plant a plant over here or put a planter over here. So it was like, why are we even meeting if all we're talking about is plant? Because we were not given any authority to hire, to do anything. To create a budget. That was, the park board was there to beautify the parks, I guess, I
What
don't know,
about, you know,
so.
some volunteers to come in and do what needs to be done, cleaning toilets or whatever needs to be done out there. Community service to some of the kids at the school to graduate, don't they need whatever to graduate now?
Well,
I
it comes
mean,
down to nobody's overseeing it. You know, other than JT, I mean, that's JT, that's morphed into a lot of different responsibilities. So, yeah, I mean, a park board that is in charge of the parks is a good idea. It was dissolved and just had a meeting and it was just said, we're dissolving it. That was it. No plan to go in the future, you know, or future
Well, the
maintenance.
authority fell onto us, so we should have hired
Well,
somebody to
listen.
clean the bathrooms. I don't think a
Well, I
lifeguard
think
should have to go in and
Well,
clean the
that's,
bathroom.
they were handling it, and that's the way it was done.
If you're gonna
If they
hire somebody
Didn't
to
want to do
clean.
it, and the park, our maintenance, our park employee at the time, he would clean the bathrooms. Since he passed away,
Then the people that do the parks now should be told to clean the bathrooms.
But if it's not their responsibilities,
Well,
why would
that's
they?
us to make it their responsibility.
so.
It's gotta be somebody's responsibility.
You're right.
so
You're right,
currently,
it's
there's people that will volunteer. I volunteer where I live to make the community better.
So currently the lifeguards do clean the bathrooms. I was down there for 4 hours today because we're packing up for camp. The bathrooms were cleaned in the morning. If there was stuff that was still dirty, it's patrons who were there, it did get busy this afternoon with people showing up. But the state of the bathrooms I'm sorry, Mr. McClure, to your point, yes, the countertops are laminated particle board. It's not suitable for something. In order for us to clean it, we have a pump sprayer and we spray like dissolvent down and then we spray it down with a hose to clean the bathrooms. But there's only so much that we can do it's never gonna look clean. Just because of the condition of the toilets and everything else. When there is a problem, we do address it. Like if the toilet dispenser is broken or something, we will like change it out, that kind of thing. But there's not much we can do other than to hose it down, and it still doesn't, like, it's been cleaned, but the drains are doing well and like receiving the water and everything. There's only so much that they can do.
This discussion is making it sound as if nobody ever goes in there, cleans it, repairs it, and that's not the case. The parks board, pardon me?
It obviously is, the maintenance part has not been done there. Did you see these pictures I brought in?
I could see them from here, but
But you-
I also know that
It was taken at 10 this morning.
repairs do get done. And I don't know the reporting structure. I don't hear about things on the Manahan buildings. You know, I know that in the past, we've put money into repairs that need to be made, but we can't make it a new building right now, although, and I don't even know how to explain other than the discussion is making it sound like it's being left alone, you know, gets used daily and nobody does anything in there, and that's not the case. You know, camp just got over. I know even at that time it was used a lot. When we have problems with the leach field, the tank gets pumped out. You know, the only other option in the meantime is to close that building down, you know? Because if you don't want to, well, no, I'm just saying, you know, if we pull out all the toilets and put in new toilets and put in new fixtures and stuff like that in a building that needs to be replaced.
If you're leaking on the bottom, then you
Yeah.
reseal it. New seals put in, stop them from leaking onto the floor underneath.
I understand
So that isn't
how that.
pulling the toilet and shutting the place down, it's just doing some simple
No,
maintenance.
Have you,
And I agree with Mr. Tabor, the same thing that I said, phase it out. You've got a septic system that's an issue. Let's get the septic system fixed and increase the size of it for the future building. Let's get a well put in, and then we worry about a building. Because if you just keep pumping that system out, all you do, you're not fixing the problem. We're just throwing Band-Aids on it. That's,
I would be willing to bet that the reason the leach field is failing, if it is failing, is because the septic tank never got pumped out, and probably the amount of usage that place would get, probably should be pumped out annually, not every 3 years. Or at least every other year, but I would say probably annually.
baffles, you don't building.
It just, if I can just approach you, I don't know if I showed you this, but this is the roof. Why isn't that cleaned off? It wasn't cleaned. You know, if you don't go there every day, I understand it's not something you see, but it's too bad to hear on the street that Manhattan Park is disgusting, when that's such a beautiful place up there. And that's why I went up this morning to look. And that needles, they've been there for 4 years, 5 years, but what's it? Oh, well, it's not, and if we have somebody that's in charge of park, I wish he was here because I'd speak to him directly, but if we have somebody here that's in charge of that, and all of this, and this was at 10 o'clock this morning when I went in, and there were 6 or 8 kids playing volleyball, who I think I don't know if they were park people or not, and on the other side, there may have been 15 people there. So that mess that I took pictures of this morning, that wasn't just happening. That has been, and I'm ashamed of the town of Hillsborough. And if you look at just downtown, the houses in the middle of the town, how it's finally getting fixed. We've waited ever since the traffic lights went in, we've waited for that downtown to be brought up. And we just let everything go, we don't take care of it. And it's not that you don't have any interest in it, it's just that we don't have the right people in the right position, I think. Something has to be done, or it's a waste of everybody's time.
So you wanna pull it and then hire an engineer?
Yeah, I think that's what we should do.
Thank you,
And we'll
thank you, I appreciate that.
accept it first and move on.
And if I can be of any help at all.
Okay, we're all done. Is that, can they include the well and the septic and the engineering?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
would think they would
included in
include
that?
everything for that new
Well, I
building.
think right, but I think, I think the board has to say, okay, this is what we want, put a plan together. JT brought that forward, asking your input and everything, and, he went through 3 times, and now so.
Maybe
Now
we
it's
should
the way
do
to
that
go.
at our next meeting with JT, put everything that we're thinking of for this, what we need, and then we'll
But,
send it
I
out.
think we could do it, I don't think we need to meet with JT.
Yeah, okay, well,
I think we can say that.
Engineer.
well, I think first you hire you. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll
you gotta-
talk about an engineer.
You gotta give the engineer
Discuss
the
it with
information he needs.
The engineer, he developed,
Right.
he or she developed.
Right.
What you're looking for.
but I'm sure they know what questions to ask if they're a good engineer.
Right,
They will
right.
know, do you want this, do you want this, do you want that,
Right.
so on and so forth, so.
And you can call local well drilling companies. And the state of New Hampshire has a map of all the wells drilled in the entire state. And they can tell you roughly how deep it has gone in that area.
Just because.
So you can get an idea of what that might cost.
But wouldn't the engineer do all that?
You don't quite, if you can get somebody if you're gonna pay an engineer to do that. You can get somebody from a Capital Well or any of the well companies.
Okay,
They could come in and give you a price on a well.
okay,
So the engineer doesn't get that in his resume, so he's gonna get 10 to 15 to 20% on top of whatever they charge. You can also get a hold of a company that designs septic. Have them come in and tell them what you wanna do, have them design the septic. You don't need the engineer to do that.
so we're
You
gonna do all the
just need
legwork,
somebody to draw you a building.
okay,
An engineer
Well, we-
doing the septic system
okay.
is very expensive.
Okay, we're done with public comments. Now, we have to discuss stuff.
That's,
But you'd have to put out for somebody to come in. You'd have to put out, you can't just call any water company. You're gonna have to have,
I understand
you're
that,
gonna have to find out who's willing to do it.
correct?
Same thing with the septic. You just can't call Seneca Septic or whoever and say, design us a septic system. You're
Correct.
gonna have to go out and put out an ad for a septic system designer, correct?
Right, bid it out.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta,
You can do that.
So,
and then you gotta go through the state, it's gotta be state.
right, I realize
You're
that, but
gonna
you're
get
gonna have to,
approved, yeah.
you're gonna have to do a bid to get somebody to design the septic system.
Correct.
So does the engineer do all that, or do we have to do 3 separate?
Well, based on what
Engineering
Tom
that.
just said, we'd be better off doing it ourselves, because if we have the engineer do it, he's gonna charge us.
Okay, so
Certain
we've got to
percentage.
decide what kind of ad you want to put out in the paper for these, and these companies to, so who's gonna tell them what it is we
Well,
want?
you have to decide where you want.
Where
to
it
go.
is.
It's gotta be 75-foot radius from your,
Well,
your
Well,
your
so
well
you-
has to have a 75-foot radius
Right.
from your leach field, so there's a lot of things that,
Have to go
I
first.
don't know, such a septic planner, a septic designer, there's a separate company that does that. Not the engineer.
right.
And I can tell you right now, that well on that side of the lake is gonna go down 700 feet. From my experience with other well drillers, the side of the lake I live on, about 350. I'm gonna keep with that. Old timers have told me, that side of the lake, you're gonna go 700 feet.
I've got 2
Right.
wells just down the street from that one. And one is 1,000 and the other one is 500.
Okay,
On
we've
that
got to
side.
discuss this, so we
Okay.
can't keep having people interrupt.
So does that mean we have to determine where the well is gonna go before we determine where the septic and leach field is gonna go, because they have to be separate, and
I
Septic
think
first.
you have to design the septic first,
Septic first.
and then
septic.
You'll
Okay,
know
so
where the
how
well
do you
goes.
go about
Thank you,
getting a
Peter.
septic system designer?
I don't do that.
The designer will do that.
But, okay, do we
Yeah.
call a designer, or
Yes.
one designer? We don't have
There,
to give it,
Well,
that's what I'm
Can
asking.
become multiple,
I mean,
you get bids.
yeah.
I would
It's
think
to
that
what, to design a system?
Yeah.
Okay.
based on the usage, I mean, we know how many toilets, how many sinks we want. So we're gonna have to have a leach field and a septic system that'll accommodate
those
numbers.
If you guys don't know how it's done, why don't you listen to the public that
Excuse
has
me,
done it?
ma'am,
Yes.
I'm trying to find out whether or not we can call one company and say, this is what we
But
want,
it
or if
sounds
we
like
need to
nobody
know.
knows what's.
Well,
how
we
to
have
do
to
it.
go out and put it up for bid, we have to allow
Exactly.
separate, so that's what I'm trying to establish.
Yeah, we'll contact the right people. You don't just rely on one person.
That's what I mean.
you want someone to deal a lot with water.
So,
That's on the water system. And a lot of them use AOS systems now.
So it sounds like we need 3 people. We need somebody, an engineer to design the building. We need a septic person to do the septic and
septic
the,
system designer,
and then we need a 3rd person to do the well.
right,
So we need 3 people, plus at some point, we're gonna need a plumber, we're gonna need an electrician, and all the other good
Well,
stuff to go
yeah,
along with that. But that's further down.
but once it's engineered, then you put it out to
Yeah.
bid as to who can.
Yep,
can
put
build
it
the thing.
together.
But I'm just wondering, what kind of ad do we put out to get people to engineer the septic system?
Do we call, or do we just take 3 people? Do we, I mean, we have a lot of people in the town that know, that are builders. Maybe we can
We have
ask-
a building inspector.
We have a building inspector.
Okay, maybe we can get some recommendations from him as to who we should call. And,
But we're not, I don't think we're allowed to call one company without
If
giving
you're allowed to
everybody
do
our,
what you want to do.
we can.
You know, you don't know what the cost is going to be. As a board, you can say, you know, give recommendations, find a company, or you could find 3 companies. But you need, once you know what it is you're looking for, once you know the size, I would think you would need to know how many toilets you're having, how many this, how many that. Correct me if I'm wrong,
For your
but
septic
in
system.
order to know the size of the septic and leach field,
That's a pretty good size one.
So you can't,
But Lee,
Don't
when
get
you
it
did your
cost.
project, that designer you used, didn't he do everything? Didn't he lay out the lots, or did he have somebody else do the same?
Tim Porter and Deere, very reasonable septic designer. Did all the septics first, so we knew where to put the houses.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew there was a process.
He's one
You know,
that did that
in
house
the-
up there that you're working on now, that I worked on.
Oh, is that one there?
But-
So I mean, they're out there.
You don't need bids on the well. You
The well's a
give me
well.
an estimate.
Yeah, well,
You can get a rough idea on a well, a well is a well. They can tell you it's gonna be 300 feet, and they might go 1,000. It's mother nature. You go 10 feet over, you might be at 200 feet. So it's pretty much you're gonna get how much a foot.
Well, my only issue, I don't care what, yeah, but if we went with the gentleman he just talked about for the septic system, I want to know whether or not I'm gonna get somebody else coming in and saying, well, why didn't you talk to me first? That's my issue.
you're always gonna get that.
But you're always,
Yeah.
but if you, yeah,
It's,
you know, that's the only thing.
but, you asked.
There
me, that's
shouldn't
the
be
next
that
one.
much difference in septic design,
There was,
because you gotta follow state rules. So each designer, I mean, there can't be that
Okay.
big a difference.
I use RCS out of Bradford, he specializes in water.
Right.
He's not that expensive.
Yeah, and we can do all that and, and then locate the building and locate the well and all that, and get all those specifics. that we-
Tim Porter did 10 systems for me for $11,000.
So, but that's something, we can do.
And the more you do, the cheaper it'll be.
Installed.
So it's
Design.
not gonna be- It'll be more than 1,000 if you want, but yeah.
That system up there, you probably need to be 5 feet.
They're all 3-bedroom systems. Go up there, yeah.
3 to 5 feet.
You say Joel Ford. Is that what?
The word.
Forwarder? Oh, I'm not Joel.
Oh,
When I gave you RCS designs out of Bradford,
S or F?
RCS.
The S.
Yeah.
You have the R and the C.
So if we contacted two people to see who would be willing to do it?
You can get estimates, but you have to know the size first.
They can look at it,
You
tell you
know,
what, they can go up there and look at it, tell you.
well, we know the size of the building, we know the number of toilets we're putting in.
That's all they
I'm
look
not, I'm not aware of commercial buildings, but when you build a house, it's nothing to do with the amount of toilets you have. It has to do with the amount of bedrooms you have.
Correct. This is better.
So, I don't know what the specifics are with this commercial, with the new bedrooms, I don't know how they,
I think
that's
they
the
take
design.
what- How many people come, what the
Yeah, I
population
don't
of the
know.
building,
Yeah.
how many people are using in the building at a time, stuff like that.
So a
We've got
designer
somebody
will
to
do
do
that.
that.
I think we have enough information to get this
Yeah,
septic
with the-
design.
yeah. Yes,
This is gonna seem like an offhand comment, but it's not.
name, please.
If I were to be,
Daddy, Daddy, your name.
Name.
oh, I'm sorry, Mike Shamel. This is gonna sound off track at the moment. If I were to wanted to build a house someplace where I was a stranger, but I bought a lot and wanted to build a house, what I would do very first is to find a general contractor that had a good reputation. And it's the general contractor that would lead me in the concept of drill, the concept of where to place the house, the concept of where the leach field should be, and where the septic tank should be. That person would guide me. Now, if I was building a house and there was a good contractor, I'd have him take care of the whole deal. My point is that a general contractor that you all know and all trust can be the source of most of the information that you've been looking for.
So instead of that one.
Well, you want to go.
Yeah.
I told Emily we don't do the night.
Sorry. Laura wants to embellish some of the minutes for the June 24th meeting.
What did you guys think?
Were the minutes all right? Do you want to sign them or do you?
So when Mary does the minutes, she sends them to me.
Yep.
And I glanced at them, and I thought there were a couple of things that,
Would this be July?
well, there's one.
This one. That's July.
Oh, yeah, I sent the wrong one.
Oh, it does, it is. It says July
Okay,
22nd.
that's
yeah.
on the bottom.
Oh, I
So
guess.
she does the minutes, you know, and then she'll send them, she'll let me know they're done, and I typically I read through them. But, and there were a couple areas just as I glanced through that I thought needed a little more information, but when I sent it out to all of you to read to see if you what you thought. So you can either approve as is, which is fine too.
Just asking. Do you want her to, she feels that there's areas that she could
Oh, she.
expand on?
That
and
would
I-
make it,
To
make
make it
it
Yeah.
read better.
smoother.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to approve something and then have her going,
No,
Yeah.
yeah, we can hold off on it.
all right. I make a motion to sign the manifest. And
Before we go too much further, have we agreed that we're gonna fill the year?
yes,
Should we have a motion to that effect?
If you'd like.
if you like,
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
anybody second it?
I'll second it, which is withdraw.
Voted all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's easy.
I just think for clarity's sake, it
Yeah.
should be in the
Yeah.
minutes. And we voted on it.
You want to make a motion to have Laura contact these two individuals for septic system design? Nope.
You opened up another can of worms, but I'm gonna open it a little further. One of the things that you said about a general contractor makes a lot of sense to me. I wasn't on the board, the school board, when they put up the middle school, but they had a general contractor to do all that. And I know I don't have any of that expertise. I've never done anything with a building. I don't think you have either. I know you have some, but
Yeah.
but should we think about hiring somebody?
But does the general contractor come in and do what is already engineered?
No, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
we
he-
should need the engineering,
Yes.
does he or does he not?
and then he comes in and says, okay, the electrician, this is what he's gonna bid on, the general contract. You know,
So he does not get involved with what we're gonna be doing now.
If I'm the general contractor, and throw something in. Yeah, this is what the town of Hillsborough wants. All right, so I've got to send electrical contract, find someone to do the electrical. I've got to send out someone to do the plumbing. I got to send someone up. He's gonna get 15 to 20% on whatever that bid comes in at.
The same with the
Right,
leach field.
Same for everything.
Okay,
So
so,
what I'm saying is he works after you've gotten the engineering plans.
All you got, he does after everything you've done.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so we would do the leach field ourselves to get the estimate for, rough idea for that. And I've never done any of this. That's why I'm
If you
asking.
get your contractors for your, say you got 4 people, they come in to say, all right, they come in with their bids, whatever their bids are. And then your, well, they're gonna give you a proposal, which you gotta look, when you get your well proposal, you gotta look at how much casing and then how much per foot. That's the biggest thing you got. And then, once you get all that stuff, then you get your big old package together, and then you send it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, yeah. And we have a building inspector who can.
Help us.
They will
I
have
just-
They have to work with the building inspector throughout the whole process.
We only have the private.
Yeah, yeah.
No another task?
I am not qualified for that, and I have no problem admitting that.
Maybe put a small committee together, someone from the back board, a selectman, a couple contractors, just to help build it, or put the ideas together what you need.
Yes.
Relative to a general contractor. First, you're looking for a lot of information. And you can use a general contractor to get that information. Second, you don't need to use the general contractor beyond that point at all, unless you choose to. You can deal with all the contractors on your own, or you can hire the general contractor at cost. You can hire the general contractor to put it all together and make it all happen for you. But you've got a choice. General contractor, gather information. Same general contractor and do everything. Doesn't have to be the both.
It's not like this is the town's first time they've built something, so they ought to have an idea what they're trying to do.
Make a motion to authorize the selectmen to sign the manifest, or the treasurer to sign payroll checks. Payroll. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for August 12th, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second. Go ahead. You okay, guys?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I know, I did the same thing.
Contract transfer station.
So you have a sheet that has numbers on it, beautiful columns. And this is addressing when the board was discussing, started with the Windsor contract. And last meeting, you asked me to take a look at how much our transfer station budgets cost per thousand, and as well as our fire and our rescue, so that as we're billing other communities for providing that service, we can take a look at what we're billing now as opposed to what it would cost going by this method. So if you see on the top, I also included the 26 budget appropriations, but I need to take a look at, we could estimate some revenues, but I went through the 2025 so we could see what it costs. So it costs the town of Hillsborough for the fire department, which includes rescue and the capital reserve funds, less the revenues that we receive, 66 cents per thousand, and that's 66 cents on our tax rate to run that department. If you take that amount and the board discussed multiplying that by the valuation of Deering and Windsor. So looking at Deering first, their valuation for the purpose of a tax rate would be the second column, 427, 674, 88, which would mean that at the rate it costs the town of Hillsborough to operate the transfer station, Deering would be responsible for $216,057.98. We changing the method from what we bill now. The method that we bill now, they paid in 2025 $92,759.51, which is a difference of $123,298.47.
Wait a minute. So we jumped from fire to transfer station. So,
Oh,
sorry.
did we?
Yes. So it's.
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
60
Okay, fire is only for Windsor. I'm so sorry.
So,
let's go to transfer station. Transfer station. You can see the budget that we expended in 2025. and that should 2025 capital reserve fund 6. The non-billable expenses, we have expenses for the tax, the old dump cap that we take care of. We monitor the gases, we mow it. And that's not an expense that we have ever passed on to other communities. So we have to take that out. That's 34,890.25, and the revenues of 198,354.83. So the transfer station costs us just about 51 cents per thousand. Same numbers that I just said for Deering, but that is transfer station. So we would bill Deering a little over 123,000 more a year for using our transfer station under this method, if the board chooses. So Windsor uses the transfer station and the fire station and the fire department. And using the same method with the fire department being just about 66 cents, Windsor would be responsible for $25,400.75. And the transfer station, $19,557.75. For $44,958.50, we billed $34,524.66 under the current method. So that's a little over $10,000 more they would be.
Now, when you did the fire department, that doesn't include police coverage
No,
or ambulance.
it includes ambulance.
It does include
Yeah.
ambulance, okay. Fire and ambulance. I think we should go with this method.
The numbers look good. I mean, the numbers make sense.
It's a very simple way of doing it.
Yes.
Windsor's only assessed at 38,000 for the whole time.
38 million.
38 million.
But you have to divide it by.
Oh, that's right.
Question? Laura, just a quick question, Laura.
I'm not,
Oh,
the
select
chairman,
board-
the
select board?
chairman,
For the select board, just a quick question. Isn't that how most all towns are doing it now? Like tax?
Well, that's what we're trying to get to, because right now we're using population.
Yeah.
And we're taking our population number from the state, and they're taking their population number from their residential, those forms we used to fill out for residents. And it's not coming in at
That's all I was
100
asking.
people less than what the state says they have.
That's what I thought. Most all towns. are
We're
doing
trying to
it
get
the
to
way
a
it should
number
be.
that we can all use that is the same for everybody. Any comments, Richard?
No,
Does that seem fair, rational?
as far as the transfer station, I really like these numbers. The only thing I'm not thrilled at is, I think 25.4 for Windsor using our fire department seems low. But that's what
But
the numbers.
it's an easy way for us, my issue with it is it's an easy way for us to explain to them what numbers we're using and why we're using those numbers.
Granted, but I just feel it's lower than what it should be, but I will defer to the rest of the board and say, okay, let's do it.
An easy method. We've
Yeah.
been hashing this out for months,
Yes.
and we need to make a decision.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate on this one. Windsor is not gonna be affected much. Daring is gonna go up by $123,000. What alternatives do they have? They can either build a dump themselves, which is gonna cost them a lot of money, or they can contract somebody else with another town, and if they wanna do that, that's fine. the contract that we do have right now with Daring, is it year to year, is it just ongoing? How is that?
It's,
Is the start date, end date?
unfortunately, it was written for 3 years.
And that was
And it's
10
in,
years
the-
ago.
and it's in the same
No, it's-
situation, isn't it in the same situation as Winter? Or has it been renewed
I want to say it was signed last year,
last year?
For how long?
Or
or
how
2
long?
years ago.
For how long?
They were all 3 years.
So
So
can we
it-
do this to Daring, seeing we're in a 3-year contract? We're not at the end of the 3
I'll
years.
pull out the expiration date,
But if-
and this would be in effect
That's
once that.
Once that's done.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay,
And they would have, if there is another year on that contract, they would have a year's notice that this contract, this is the one we're gonna be proposing.
okay, that's fine.
But
And this is gonna be a 3-year contract?
that's up to the board. You can make it 3, you can make it 5.
I wouldn't go longer than 3, just because we don't know. We have no idea what's gonna happen to Hillsborough or Deering or Windsor. I
But
wouldn't
this,
go much.
but this grows with the budget,
Correct, because as the town evaluation
Correct.
grows,
Correct.
this grows.
well, and the budget grows. so.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's fine.
But I think this is a fairer, easier way for everybody to understand. I mean, I think the contracts, the way they're written now, is not very confusing to calculate. I mean, I did it, it's on a big huge spreadsheet, and
I got it.
it's confusing.
Frank-
This makes it very
Frankly, I'm
easy.
partial to the way I did it, but I'm willing
I
to,
know you would.
I'm willing to go with, and this is fine. This is good.
My thing is, my issue is that I like to be able to say, this is how we did it, and this
Yeah,
is
no, I
what,
get it, I get it, I
rather
get it,
than arbitrary numbers.
I get it.
All right. So do we want a motion that this is what we're going to be using?
Sure, I'll make that
Do
motion.
that, or-
You can make the motion, or when it comes to contract, it's up to you.
Let's make the motion now that, with Windsor, do we have an active contract, or can we implement this now for Windsor?
You can implement it now for their next budget.
The next budget.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
so,
effective.
so effective their next, for
2027.
Windsor for their next budget, and for Deering at the end of the current contract, this will be the new method
Yeah,
of,
and I'm thinking the contract, it might be 27 might be their new, would be their new, but I'll
Okay.
look at the,
and it'll be a 3-year contract.
because they signed that, but they didn't sign the first one. So I want to say it's 2 years ago.
Okay, and we'll then include this in our documentation, so we know how we arrived at it, so if anybody's looking at our minutes, they'll see this.
Beautiful color.
Yeah, you can make it part of the minutes.
You did good.
So I made that
You
motion,
made that motion?
I'll second it.
a long-winded, very long-winded motion.
You made the
We
motion.
cleaned up a little bit,
It's been seconded. Vote,
yes,
Yes.
yes.
It had to be, since the discussion was short and effective. Efficient.
Efficient.
So, the next
Okay,
one,
and that's, so that takes care of the Windsor contract, correct?
yes,
Okay,
it's for both.
all right, reimbursement from capital reserve fund.
So we all received an email, a long email from the chairman of the trustees of trust funds. And I'm gonna get on the soapbox for a minute, because this email is from one member of the trustees of trust funds, who does point out that she's the chair, except as you know, the chair is only the chair in running the meeting. Has no authority as one, same as the selectmen have no authority as one. And we submitted as a town some reimbursement requests for trust funds that had money spent out of them, which we do on an ongoing basis. We have always submitted the same information for years and years and years to the trustees, showing what we paid out of. We showed the manifest printout, and the manifest is what the selectmen sign off on at every meeting. Nothing more has ever been requested. The auditors see it, the trustees see it, they get a ton of information. So the chairman went to a training, and based on what was written in the email, it's stating that the trustees have not been receiving the documentation of the select board's vote authorizing the expenditure, which they do. If they wanted more, they could have asked for more, understandably. And then explain what agents to expend means. We all know that. But again, the board reviews the manifest. You take a motion, you make a motion to approve and sign the manifest, authorizing the treasurer to sign the checks, which include those. If you notice tonight, I made sure it was called out on the manifest motion that there is a check from a capital reserve fund in there to prove that the selectmen, no, it's the yellow one, and you all initialed as that went through. There's a tag on the invoice itself to initial it. It's not a problem to ask for more information by any means. It's not a problem to change the way things have always been done, because it's not always good. And then the chairman questions two expenditures, not bringing it before the other trustees. In fact, our request for reimbursement was completely ignored by the trustees at the meeting. They all got a copy of our request. They didn't talk about it. They addressed the water and sewer, paid water and sewer department, didn't schedule another meeting to address the town's request for reimbursement. But the chairman decided that we had requested a little over $1,400 for engineering from the Parks Capital Reserve Fund. It was for Manahan Park. We do have a trust fund for Manahan that we would have typically done it. It was paperclip to the other parks expenditure. It was a legitimate cost to come out of the regular Parks Capital Reserve Fund, although we would typically take it out of Manahan. She sent forward, are you sure that that's where you want it? Again, didn't bring it before the other trustees, didn't have a discussion. The other trustees didn't say, you know what, let's kick that back. It's not their role to kick it back, and it's a legitimate expense coming out of a capital reserve fund. The $54 one, I will say that she was right, and I do want to talk to the board about that. It should have been coded to a different parks fund. But again, I don't know if it's because of this email where she was stating that she had questions on it, that nobody talked about it at their meeting. This is almost $100,000 that we could use in our bank account. Money gets tight. We have a lot of expenses. We have two big projects going on that we have to pay for before we get reimbursed. We have a sidewalk being built. We have Woods Roller Mill. That's a lot of money. And two of the requests were voted in at town meeting. We had $40,000 that came from one capital reserve fund. We had $46,000 that came from another as part of equipment purchases. Those were highlighted. We submitted the town vote and granted the selectmen or agents to expend. No discussion for whatever reason. And I think that this individual who is sending an email questioning whether or not the board understood this, questioning the way we operate, and acting as one member and withholding, and if that's the case, I don't know why no one else brought it up, saying, hey, the town submitted something. And Laura Lee didn't even know they were having a meeting. They sent a posting. Mary told Laura Lee has requested, if you schedule a meeting for water and sewer, please let me know. I'll have information so that we can get reimbursed as well. Don't know what the reason is, but you all got the email. I think it was worth discussing here because I know that I hear it constantly about the berating on social media but it's not okay to have one member make decisions unilaterally that this is now what the trustees want us to submit. And again, there's not a problem submitting more information, but when one member makes that decision and says, as chair, going forward, the trustees of trust funds will need this, when they haven't even discussed it, is not ethical, and it's not how things should be done. Meanwhile, we still don't have our money. Even if they held those two out, the $54 and the $1,400, it came to just over $1,523.10. They could have held aside and paid us the other 90-some odd thousand. I'm off the soapbox.
I agree with everything you said. Completely. It's ridiculous. You know? So it's putting a lot of burden on you. As
Well,
time
Laura Lee
wise.
pulls that,
and
right. She
Laura
pulls
Lee,
everything
I mean,
together. I mean,
all I have to do is ask and we can get the information without it all. But yeah, to withhold the funds, I mean,
not even discuss it.
Yeah.
Releasing the funds. I am gonna send an email then, asking them to reconvene so that they can address our requests. In a timely manner, and it could have been done at the same meeting.
Forgive my ignorance, but when I read that, I wondered a lot of the things that you did, because some of this should have been done. But my question is more, my lack of understanding of this whole process. If we take money out of the capital reserve fund, or we could take money out of a trust fund. Two different things.
Mm-hmm.
They approve both of those, the trustees approve both capital reserves and trust funds?
Right, the trustee's role is to make sure we're not asking to take money out of, let's say, a beautification, equipment fund for buying trees.
No, I understand.
That's their role.
No, I understand that.
As far as
But
approving those
I didn't know
expenditures.
that. I thought they were the trustees of the trust funds. I didn't think they were trustees of our capital reserve funds as well. I did not know that.
Yeah, they're responsible
For that as well.
overseeing all of it.
So who decides if we have a capital reserve, we'll say fire department, we have a capital reserve fund for fire and it's and we have $100,000 in it.
Mhm.
And we have a trust fund as well for fire and it has money in it. Who decides where the money comes from?
Usually a trust fund would be set up by, if I'm not mistaken, be like the Manningham Trust Fund. That was money given to us by someone else or willed to be used for Manningham.
But we
can only use the interest from a trust fund.
Right.
And part of the will is that the selectmen and the trustees need to agree on what the interest, whereas a capital reserve is money that we put into to purchase, like the ambulance, we put in so much money every year to buy the ambulance. So you can't use the money to buy the tires for the ambulance. It
Because
has to
that
be
just comes out of the maintenance.
maintenance.
That comes out of our
Right,
general.
so that
general
would be.
fund. But
if you
who makes that? I guess my question, I understood all that
Yeah,
stuff you
yeah.
said. I've been here long enough for that at least. But if you have a trust fund, like Manningham has a
Mhm.
trust fund, and I think we have a capital reserve fund. So who decides where the money's gonna come from? Is it capital reserve or trust? Who makes that decision?
Really, the board does. So like that engineering one, for example. We typically have always, and the board could go either way, taken anything having to do with Manhattan like that out of Manhattan Trust.
Correct. We could, but we know we
Right.
don't. I don't.
Well,
think-
we do.
no, we do. We do?
did, because this is all part of that engineering that the board
Yeah.
knows about, and, but in this instance, it also qualifies for our parks capital reserve fund, because
Correct.
it's a park.
Right.
So, but we wanna, obviously, we have more parks than just, and Manhattan has its own money. Until it doesn't. But, so we kind of want to save parks for the other parks that we have, for example. But if you have two, it's really a matter of, if you have two, a trust fund and a capital reserve fund that really could serve the same purpose.
Right.
It's, you know, if a department head is, like, I brought before the board using Dana Crane Fund for $45,000 for Woods Bowl. You know, we could have done an infrastructure or whatever, but we have this money, and so I brought it for the board, and the board made that decision.
I have more of an issue on the fact that we have warrant articles that said that we were gonna be taking the money out of the capital reserve, and then they refused to pay it.
Right, no,
Well, I
that,
don't think
that,
they even discussed it.
Even discussed it. I
that,
think we didn't get
that's a
it.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the money for the fire,
But yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
we talked about that and we said,
Yeah.
and everybody voted on it.
Right.
That should be a done deal, no matter
Yeah.
what. I mean, there's no questions about that.
And I don't have a problem with us, again, setting the signature sheets forward with that information. I mean, that's not a problem, but don't say, and they're not even saying that they're not gonna pay it because we don't have this. It's saying going forward, well, I should say she is. So that to me means the next time we submit something, why don't we have a check? Water and sewer already has a check, you know, it just.
Do we always put a note on this that's coming from the capital reserve?
No, I did that based on what it sounds like. I'm assuming the other trustees will go along with it. So it's in the minutes. That whole thing goes in the minutes.
Okay, but how do we know? I mean, again, reading that email a week ago or whenever we got it, it raised questions in my mind about our process. And I thought to myself, how do I know when I'm signing one of these things where the money's coming from? And how do I know it's capital reserve? And I was gonna ask you about that later.
Yeah,
So
so
this is good.
If you
that you-
notice, so this time I put a copy of that in there, you all initialed it. They had the green
Yep,
sticker on it.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, because
we do
I
that all-
have the bills available as we used to have them on the table. That if you are looking through that and you wonder, you know, what is this, what is that, why not see this? A lot of times, you know, when the department heads come forward and say they're gonna do, you know, the engineering is a perfect example, or Dana Crane Fund that I brought. We have that discussion already. And then it's in the manifest when the bills come in.
I would ask that it's nice to know when we're doing checks, that if there's a capital reserve fund, it's clearly stated, you know, when we make the
It will be
motion
now.
that, yeah, so
Well,
that
it
we
is
know.
now, yeah.
It will be now.
We know, okay, good,
Yeah.
okay, super. Okay,
And I have one other thing, and I almost brought this up during the discussion about the house, but I didn't want it to sound like an excuse. I sat down with the Parks Director and the road agent. We have a hard time hiring seasonal parks maintenance people. We've had a hard time for a long time, because we're only offering seasonal work. We did have somebody who started on a condition of a driving record, passing a driving record. Started doing some work, failed one of the two requirements to hire, so we weren't able to fill that other position. We have had someone that's come back for 3 years. We would like to make another position like Scotty's position, so that this person is full-time, works with the highway department in the winter, works for us from April to October, because we need as much time as we can get in parks, and if we can't offer a full-time in some respect, and the highway department could really use another position like that. Right now, we have, because we couldn't fulfill that third position for parks maintenance, we do have some money in the budget, not for benefits. We would like to keep that person on till the end of the year with his understanding that nothing is promised unless the board puts it in the budget and the budget passes. But and they wouldn't be hired as if they would still be seasonal until the end of the year and go from that. But I wanted to put it out to the board because I didn't want to give any false hope that it would be in the budget. Highway department has plenty of work to do in the winter for another person. And we could be able to hire, we could use a position that is stable enough for somebody to stay with us so that we know we have one less position to try to fill seasonally.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a need for the position, you know, and
Well,
we
we've
can,
grown and.
right,
and
things
it's
grow.
A lot of work.
So we would have like 2 people that run the sidewalk plow during the winter.
So we could, because we have still have the old plow, but there's
Well, I'm just
also
saying, you know.
a pickup truck to plow town buildings and stuff like that. The
Shovel out the hydrants,
hydrants.
clear the
Public
catch
park.
basins, all that stuff that really should be done.
They don't clean out hydrants. The town, the
Well, the fire,
highway department doesn't, the fire department does.
well, but
I don't
they
know.
could. So we
Right,
hire a
no.
person it's in the fire department budget.
Keep that money with the
No,
Project
it
Genesis to
doesn't.
do.
No,
Fire department does not clean hydrants.
It's in the fire
What?
department.
oh, go ahead.
So I've seen the budget and
Yeah.
it is a line in the fire department budget.
Oh.
But they hire a person. Right now it's an auxiliary person.
Well, couldn't this person do that?
Yes. And that's
I
what
would
we've
think
already
it
talked
should
about.
belong, I would think it belongs there rather
Well,
than the fire department.
Yeah, I think both positions, so this position plus Scott's position for a full 12 months, I think it should all be under the one department. It's a pain in the neck for us to be splitting.
Right.
So, and this will be part of that. But they would also plow out, we could keep, Butler Park was being shoveled by a volunteer up until last year. And so we could keep that open year round as well.
Yes.
We'll have a person to shovel.
And looking at the streets, I mean, sometimes, we're walkers and we walk, and sometimes the sidewalks are horrible downtown in the wintertime. I know you can't keep them up all the time, but sometimes they're just treacherous. I know the street plow goes by, but it'd be nice if we could have somebody standing or doing something to keep them safer.
Yeah, well, I know that it really depends on the winter as far
Yeah.
as if there's any other place to put it. I have the same complaint when I live in the city.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But yeah, I get it. It's hard and it depends on, you know,
So it'd be nice to have somebody to do all that
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah.
That's a full-time employee so that he's here,
Well,
you know.
right, it just, the continuity of being able to keep an employee, and this is a very good worker.
Yeah.
But we know that we can't offer if you get a position often someplace else. And this person has not said that, but after this year not being able to fill that third position, that hurts. Things get, you don't have enough time, not enough people, and, especially in a position where it's weather dependent.
Makes sense.
There's money in the budget to do it.
Yeah.
Well, there's money in the budget to pay him as is, not with benefits.
Right.
So if that wouldn't go into effect until April, if that all passes.
So you're gonna include it in our next budget?
Yeah.
Okay. You want a motion to that effect?
This I would like.
I'm all, okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's all right.
Anything else?
I'm still looking really.
Yes.
cautious.
Of course I have other things. Come on. Why do I not?
No.
Okay, one new thing came up tonight based on our discussion. And the cleanliness at Manhan, the bathrooms. I think that, isn't JT in charge of all that ultimately? It's not his responsibility to clean them, but that would fall under his jurisdiction, would it not?
But it's his department. Yes.
Okay, so would it be fair to ask JT to come up with a plan to make sure the bathrooms are clean on a daily basis and any small maintenance items be addressed as they occur? And make that his responsibility, to come up with a plan for our next meeting so he can give it to us so that we can say, yeah, this is good.
I'll have him come up with a plan. We always wanted it by the next meeting, but I don't know if that's possible as far as he's got to take a look to see.
I know,
I mean, he may already know.
Okay,
I'm saying it might be possible,
Okay,
but
soon.
yes,
Okay.
no effect. I'm just saying, I know 2 weeks go by really quickly when you've got, but
I know.
camp just ended,
I know.
so.
Just like in perpetuity.
In perpetuity,
We
yeah.
won't do that
I
either.
used that word today when I thought of it.
Okay, okay. That's one. Two, I was walking up the street after volunteering at the food pantry, and somebody asked me this question, and I was kind of stumped. They went to Manahan Park with their kids, and they had their nephew over, same age as his kids, and he wants to bring the kids to the beach. And he got stopped, and they said, is everybody in the car a Hillsborough resident? Oh, his nephew was not a Hillsborough resident. He says, what do I do? He says, do I lie and say yes? Or do I say no and pay the $4? That's a good question. I didn't ask him what he did, but I thought about it for quite a while, and I would think that we would not be charging in that situation. I would think the question that we should be asking going into Manahan is, are you a Hillsborough resident? If you are, then everybody in a car is considered grandfathered in and they can go in without a charge. I would think that's how we would want to handle it. But I'm giving my opinion. That's not, so anyway, I'm bringing it up tonight because I said I would. I told this individual, I'll bring it up at the board meeting. You know how I feel about it, but I think that's, because it seems so petty. Just, your cousin, I mean, and you're gonna charge $4. I just
So,
don't think that's.
you mean like on an age level?
Well,
Because if I had my car full of my girlfriends and we're all in our 20s.
but if you're a Hillsborough resident,
And I'm driving and none of them live in Hillsborough.
but if you're a Hillsborough resident, shouldn't. Maybe we put an age limit on, I don't know, but it would seem to me that in that particular case, we should not be charging $4 for that kid to come into the park.
Well,
I
that's
just
why
don't
I
see that.
asked. I think
You know?
it makes more sense if they're children, because
Anybody under
Yeah.
18 in the car?
anyone, I don't know,
16?
this is up to the board. I mean,
I don't know, I just, it just doesn't seem to me that we should be doing that, you know? You know, just like if I have, anyway, I think it's petty.
so did they ask for the reason of charging that child? Did they charge?
Well, I told them the reason why we're charging.
Yeah, but did
Okay.
they ask him, is everyone in the car? And did he, it would be interesting to know if he said, no, he's not, or she's not, and they say it's a child, whether, what happened there.
I don't know,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know how
I'll
he,
ask you
how he
how they
answered the
did it.
question,
Yeah.
and I don't know, you know, it's just, but I thought we should look at our policy and perhaps refine it somehow, because I just don't see that type of situation. I just don't think we should charge for that, I just don't, but, you know.
Yeah, I don't think it's about the kids, you know. I don't know, but,
Do we want to think about it and talk about it in our next meeting? But anyway, that's,
I have a question
Yeah.
for the board, if I may.
Are you done?
No.
You're not done?
How much money do we bring in that group?
I don't have anything.
This is the first year that,
No, we did last
No, we
year.
did last
well,
year.
yeah, but we don't know.
How much do we pay the person to sit in that group?
Yeah.
It's one of our lifeguards.
You're still paying them,
Yeah, but
doesn't matter.
we don't take them off the clock if they're not on the stand, so we utilize them in another. Because they have to come off the lifeguard's stand after
Somebody else.
coming in, right? So they're still on the clock, so we put them in.
that question was asked as well.
Yeah,
But you're
we've heard
still-
that one
this-
before.
They're not coming off the clock, and you're taking them off the beach, but you're still paying them. So is it worth what that person is in the booth to get the $4 a week?
But the problem is that if they're in the chair for 4 hours and they go and sit in the, underneath the
Yep.
thing, we're paying them to sit there.
Right.
So it's, and they're not doing anything, they're just sitting at a picnic table waiting for their next 4-hour shift. So instead of having them just sit there, we send them down to the collection booth.
I was like, one of the big questions, how much are we actually bringing in?
Yeah. I'll have to look back at the revenues. We have that. I don't know.
I'm not saying it's not right to charge the other towns or if they're not residents, but do we bring in enough to really, to be worth meaningful?
Every little bit
That
helps.
Short answer, yes. And I can tell you the lifeguards, depending on how many that are on duty and what day it is and the camp is running, they run usually a 20 or 30-minute rotation. So they're like chair, raft, wherever their stations are. So it's about 20 or 30 minutes, which means that they walk down to that station. It's just one of their rotation stations that they go through there. They have like 5. But I can tell you that like on, you won't have the numbers until after
Well, I have
Labor Day.
last year's number.
You have last year's
Yeah.
numbers, and we're up this year from last year. We'll have them for you after September. But we can take in over $1,000 for the July weekend. And then just, if the weather's nicer, more people come down. That's it.
So we're gonna table that and talk about it next week or next meeting, or how do you want to handle? Yeah.
So I'd have to know what,
But I think it's a discussion that should involve the information that we need to find out in this situation, what they would have done. You know, maybe they wouldn't have charged, so it's, But if you want to put it in writing.
Okay, okay, I'll ask. Maybe you weren't in the room when somebody asked me this question. They go to Manahan with their kids, they live in Hillsborough. They have 2 or 3 kids in their car, cousins visiting, they're 10, 11, I don't know how old. And cousins out of town. They go to Manahan and they were asked, is everybody in the car from Hillsborough? And he says, what should I do in that situation? What would you do? And I thought about it, and I did not ask what he did, because I thought that wasn't fair. But what would, if the answer was no, one of the kids are not, would we charge $4 for that kid?
So typically, if I'm down at the booth and understand that on the busy weekends, I go down there and work on Saturday or Sunday to support the lifeguards, because the vast majority of them are under the age of 20. If a Hillsborough resident is driving a car with their family member or a visiting family member, I go off of who the driver is, and if they're a Hillsborough resident, the car can go in. If they're a Hillsborough resident and their cousin or their whoever's visiting is in another car, I'm gonna charge the people that are in the other car. Okay. And the reason for that is that, remember, we're not checking IDs. Everything is on honor system right now until we can get some kind of sticker system. And the majority of why we make that decision is because, again, there's kids doing this job. Some people can get very angry, especially last year. There was a lot of days that either myself or JT worked for weekends because people were upset about having to pay the money to put their boat in and that kind of stuff. So
in a
yes, we wanted
situation,
to get the revenue, but we want to also avoid confrontations.
so in the situation that I described,
I would let the car go.
and is that consistent with everybody there?
I couldn't tell you that.
Should we have a consistent policy that is uniform across the board? That everybody knows that if it's this situation, this is what happens. I would think we'd want to do
I would
that.
encourage that. It would make it a lot easier for my staff.
Right, this whole process, we've got to make it easy for our
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah.
You know,
Next year we are changing the colors of, so Hillsborough stickers for the transfer station will be one color. Here in the ones will be.
Different color.
So that's easy. So
So you just let the car in if it's. a
So
Hillsborough
that
resident.
if the board decides, but.
If the board decides that, but also residents still need to be counted.
Mhm.
So we've had, because residents, who just point to their sticker and drive through the stop sign. We're still, I collect a lot of data. We're
Yeah.
collecting numbers and how many people are visiting. So I'm sorry, I forgot your name, sir, but you asked about, the septic systems. I could give you a count at the end of the season, say, this is how many people came onto the park, okay? So we need the residents to also be following the rules also. And if it's just stop, so we need to count how many people are in the car.
Right.
Right, but it's another way of you knowing that if he says he's a Hillsborough resident and he has a Hillsborough dump sticker, then that verifies.
It makes the
Make it a little
process
easier.
easier for us.
But I think we do need to have a policy that says, I agree with Crystal, if she hears that the driver is from Hillsborough and he's got a child in the car that's not from Hillsborough, he can go in. But if the second car is a family car and being driven by somebody who is not a Hillsborough resident, and they would have to pay.
Oh, I agree 100%
So I
with
think
that.
that's,
But the issue that I would have is that I asked the question, is that a consistent practice across the board?
well, I think we need to do that.
Well, that's why I brought this whole thing up,
Right.
because we
need to do that, but I think, they're only gonna be there for another month. You wanna do that for a month?
yes. I would like
well, yeah, just keep it consistent, you know,
Yeah.
Then,
that's what will happen. You know.
I'll make that motion that if the driver is a Hillsborough resident, is sufficient for the car.
the car
in.
go through, whoop,
Just a follow-up to that, so you know, any children, regardless of what their residency is, if they're in a car seat or a booster, we don't charge for that.
Yeah.
Like if they're coming in, they're being
But that's
safe,
already an established
That's-
policy that
Yeah.
everybody knows.
Right.
Okay.
just to just,
So,
I have a-
yeah,
I got a question.
you can ask her
Are you-
privately.
Well, now, this entails fee. But I can't hire a house in Antrim on the lake. I'm gonna use that boat landing, because boat launch is the only one on the lake. Do I gotta pay the $4?
If you come in,
Yep.
when the,
You're a resident of Hillsborough.
Right, I have
he's just
a
asking.
lake house.
Right, but
But you're a resident of Hillsborough,
Right,
you don't have.
but I'm
to
just
pay.
saying that because there's some people that have asked me about it, and I told them, don't go late at night. They live on the lake.
They can come in before or.
So, yeah.
It's
before or
during the
after.
time, I said, yeah, you're gonna have. That's,
Yeah.
I told them I'd ask. Does it come up?
Oh, yeah,
I,
I said,
and when people are upset, like at the front gate, I will tell them that too. Be like, it's no skin off my teeth, come in before we start manning or come in afterwards.
That was kind of
Totally
established
fine.
that was said when, last year.
When we started this whole thing, they come in before or they come in after, fine, we don't,
Right.
But Hillsborough is still the one who's responsible for maintaining that boat ramp. When I tell people they're coming in.
Make your motion.
I'm making the motion that if a Hillsborough driver goes through and they ask if he's Hillsborough, or they're Hillsborough rather, they can make gender neutral, that is sufficient to let the car in without
Charging.
charging.
Seconded.
Oh, there you go.
Aye.
Another,
Anything else?
Yeah, I get it.
Go ahead.
A lot of things came
I
up in
wish
the
I
last
knew
couple of weeks.
all the things that come up so that I knew.
Okay,
what the
this
agenda
one is quick. One of the things that you sent out is that, Hillsborough Water and Sewer got awarded $750,000 for the Whittemore and Park Street, Park Place project. We don't get any cut of that, do we? That's all that. So basically, we paid 1.2 or 3 million, and they paid 300 or 400,000 because they got that 700,000.
Unless you bring it up to them and discuss it with them. But they're gonna,
That's my, I just
Yes.
wanted to verify that that was my understanding, that was the case.
yes.
Okay, that's fine. Last thing. I'm doing this from memory too. That's pretty quick. This kind of piggybacks on what Tom said earlier about maintaining the stuff in Hillsborough. Okay, and it got me thinking, that we have the water fountain in town that doesn't work. We've just kind of pushed it aside. We have, the building at the corner of Main Street and, Church Street that's kind of just sitting there. We don't know what we're gonna do with that. We've got the bridge to nowhere that's just kind of sitting there. We don't really know what we're gonna do with that. We've got the church that's in Hillsborough Center that needs work. We don't know. We keep on kicking the can down the road. Shouldn't we take a list of all these things, make a priority of what we think we should tackle, and work this list, and not just kicking the can down the road?
The board should put together your capital improvement plan. And I was gonna bring this up tonight, except I don't wanna stay real late. And, because it's like we talk about one thing, safety complex, for example, and then we go to the sewer project. Well, now that takes priority of discussions, or we go here, we go there. And I think if you have your capital improvement plan pulled together, which is exactly what you're looking at, this is gonna take, what do we want to see over the next 5 years, 10 years and stuff like that. I was just talking with someone, Lord, as a matter of fact, about the church and that, I think I'm at church constantly. And, because one, we don't have enough money because we try to keep the budget within, our tax rate within a certain number.
Right.
And you can't do both, right? And then we do have full-time maintenance person. He is busy enough on the buildings that we occupy it's, in order to do that in-house, which we wouldn't necessarily have, we wouldn't do some of this work in-house anyway. There aren't enough hours in the week with, we have older buildings, we have older, you know, that fountain, my personal opinion, no town should have a working fountain they're beautiful when they're working, but then people throw things in it, they get jammed up, and it's fun to put bubbles in it, and,
That's what,
but yeah,
Killed.
it's been,
So,
yeah, well,
Vandalism.
the vandalism
yeah.
killed the process.
well, if,
we should have plants.
could we put a camera? I mean, I just brought up the whole
Yeah.
issue. I don't want to come up with a solution tonight, but I think we want to look at this and come up with a list, prioritize. And one more question about that building that we have, the corner of Church and Main, that's occupied, both of those buildings actually. Do we pay all the utilities on that? Do we be reimbursed with? So all these
So-
people do this and they don't pay anything?
Well, water and sewer department is in one of the buildings.
Correct.
And they do some expenses, but
Do they pay the water and sewer? I hope.
I don't know, we don't pay it, they probably don't bill themselves.
Yeah, okay, well. They shouldn't build the town either, but that's.
Yeah,
another
that's
story.
all, yeah. And the other one, they do give us a donation every year,
Okay,
the thrift store.
okay.
Southern New
Is it the same amount of money?
Southern New Hampshire, no, they've increased that. Southern New Hampshire Services, they don't.
Okay, because I didn't know and I just wondered. Okay,
But the problem with the center is there's a lot more buildings than just the clubhouse and that church.
no, I know, there's other
Because
buildings, there's the
The
old
horse
schoolhouse.
barn is starting,
Yeah,
the horse barn needs a new roof.
But we should, again, we should prioritize this and we should think about these things.
Right.
Because that's a beautiful area. I mean, it's
Well,
really
it
nice.
is, it's just the fact that you gotta have to come up with a plan and
there's other.
setting aside so much money every year to do something.
We're gonna have to do that.
Right, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you
And
know,
looking
Okay,
at whatever
that's fine.
resources are,
That was my last thing.
because a horse barn is actually a historic site. that you're gonna have, because
Yeah, I got it.
it's on the historic register.
Can I give a suggestion on something on this Project Genesis old building? Since the mold is in the basement and stuff, take the front half of that building, tear it off, raise that building, which won't cost much, build it up 2 feet all the way around. You could turn that into something the town could use and get all kinds of parking.
See, that's exactly, we've talked about taking the whole back and demolishing.
You can keep the back, it's the front.
Oh, no, in the back, that's the mold.
I'm told the mold by one of the guys that was in it, told me in the back corner with water.
Oh, no, you haven't been down in the basement?
We spend like about $15,000 a year there, electric and heat and all that stuff. I know the heating project Genesis, empty building.
We're not heating the
You
back.
go by there in the middle of winter, there's 2 heaters, electric radiating heaters in that downstairs.
There's, because we
Just
have
as
an
far as-
office in the middle,
No,
of
this is-
Southern New Hampshire
you can look right in
Services,
from,
they share the.
right in
furnace,
from Church Street.
Right, Jim?
Yeah.
You can see there were 2 radiating heaters were in there all last winter. Yeah. I stopped looking
In
at
the
the
back
window.
section?
No, the old Project Genesis building.
Yeah, the back of it.
In the big building, the big building. There were 2 heaters running. I stopped looking in the window, looking at, why are
In
you
the back of the building? Like in the.
You can see through the front window. You can see the heaters.
What are you calling the front window? What road is the front window on?
Church Street. So it'd be right there where the group, Steve, the.
Right,
Yeah.
the back of the building. It shouldn't be running.
Yeah, I
You
don't
look
think,
right in that window and there's 2 radiant heaters running.
I don't think so,
And I looked in it, I saw,
I don't think they're
I thought the building was on fire, so I stopped them up.
because they're doing this, IE said that, heater is not working in there.
Well, these are on.
And we only have to keep the
With the
pipes from freezing for the Southern New Hampshire Services, and the thrift shop has their own heater in that. Separate.
Would the thrift shop have put any heaters out there?
Yeah, there's propane out there.
Don't
There's only
know,
numbers.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't-
But we don't have to heat on.
Yeah, we,
It's
put it this way, we are not heating that portion, that back building. If we are, we don't know about
I don't know if they're electric ones or what they were, but
it. Pretty sure they're propane.
you look right. I
There's
thought the
two
building-
bottles.
I thought the building was on fire. I stopped and looked.
Yeah,
Looked in the window. They were they're heated, nice radiating, heat, glowing.
Yeah.
That would have been our heating system. We
Yeah,
had radiators.
I don't
We
know.
had radiators.
Yeah, we can look into it, but
Yeah.
we're not actively heating that
That
section.
building, it's more cost or something. Every time we build it. So,
Then we're gonna have
It's
to.
almost like you've been to a meeting.
Yeah.
all right.
I would say
Every
that.
time
for
sell it,
years.
sell a lot.
Find the thrift shop, another place to go.
Nothing against nothing. The thrift shop gets theirs for free. The clothing
Well,
closet
they
pays
do.
$60 a month.
The thrift shop
They
gives
give it.
us
The
a
thrift
few
shop gives us
thousand a
money.
year.
Yep.
They give us money every
But-
year.
They're looking for something like that.
And look, I mean,
Yeah, we've got two more things.
Yeah.
Real fast,
Okay.
real fast. I got an email. There's a workshop for lithium battery disposal for transfer station. Are we gonna be sending anybody to do that? I believe it's sometime in September.
I'll ask Angie if she's,
Okay, because I would strongly recommend that we
well, I mean,
do that. Because I don't think because I had attended one, so I get all the workshop, and then I saw that. I said,
Yeah.
That's something
yeah,
we
they,
should.
all the department heads get.
Okay, so we should look into that, I would think. The second thing is, have you talked about the fencing for the, our bridge to nowhere? Is it gonna be the same kind of fencing that we have?
I have not touched base with Mike yet. We talked about it at the last Selectmen's meeting. I have not touched base with him yet.
Okay. I could see having picnics on that, putting fences
Wasn't
and
that
just
gonna happen?
advertising, and if it was safe. I could see us,
State says.
The state,
What?
the state said it's
State
not
says,
safe.
can't say it.
That's
yeah, but if
why.
we could fix it, so it was safe. I don't know how much it's gonna cost.
That's it.
That's kind of gonna pay for itself. I can tell you that.
You think it'll be a lot of money?
That's a whole different,
People who did it wrong. That's
Yeah, I
what-
think the state screwed that up and we're, and
Holding
then
it back,
they dumped it back on us.
probably we're left holding the bag.
Yeah, we're left holding the bag and they said it's not safe and that's why we had to put the fence up and,
That'll be in the river.
Okay, well, anyway, I just thought it would be nice.
that bridge has been there for 100 years
50 years.
and it all washed out around it, but those two arcs stood. So I'd like to see the state tell me that there's something wrong with that bridge, why it's so unsafe. Doesn't make sense. But that's,
Okay,
Motion
I didn't mean to bring up that can of worms, but, okay.
yeah, I'll second that.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
8:20.
8:25.